You know, when you think about creative talent, India is an absolute powerhouse. From Bollywood to video games, the skill is there. But for a long, long time, a lot of that talent has been working behind the scenes on other people's hits. Well, that's starting to change. A new generation of creators is stepping up, and they're on a quest to build India's very own global blockbuster. Okay, let's get into it.
So this is the big question, isn't it? It's what's driving this whole new movement. And look, this isn't just about making one hit movie or a game that sells well. This is about owning the story, the characters, the entire creative universe, and then sharing that with the entire world.
To really understand this quest, we first have to wrap our heads around this fascinating paradox that sits right at the heart of India's creative economy. There's this massive gap between all the incredible work being done and who actually owns that work.
What's so interesting is the contrast you see here. On the one hand, you've got this reality for so many creators, huge studios filled with amazing artists, basically serving as this crucial, low-cost workforce for global giants. But on the other hand, you've got the dream, creators actually designing and, more importantly, owning their own original worlds.
And of course, we see these incredible flashes of potential all the time. I mean, think about the song Naatu from the movie RRR. It was a global phenomenon. It won an Oscar. It proves that Indian stories can absolutely connect with people everywhere. But, and this is the key, these tend to be one-offs, not that steady, consistent pipeline of original global franchises.
And this isn't just about cultural pride. Not at all. The economic stakes here are just astronomical. We're talking hundreds of billions of dollars for the global video game industry alone. When you own the original idea, the IP, that's how you tap into that massive value. So who's actually taking on this huge challenge?
So let's meet the pioneers of this whole movement. These are the folks who are tired of just being the workforce. They're the ones risking it all to build something completely new, right from scratch.
This is Megha Gupta, and her words right here, they just perfectly capture the very first hurdle. The market in India for the kind of premium games she wants to make is actually tiny, so that forces her to think globally from day one.
Megha's story is just incredible. Her small studio, Walla Interactive, has a team of just 4 people. Get this, they developed over 50 mobile games for other companies. It was a serious grind, but it gave her the experience and the capital to self-finance her own dream project, Spookaboo, with $200,000 of her own money. She is literally bootstrapping her dream into existence. Now, let's meet Abir Kapoor. He's coming at this from a different but equally powerful angle. He believes India is basically sitting on a gold mine of existing stories and characters, like the ones from R.K. Narayan's famous fictional town of Malgudi, that are just waiting to be reimagined for today's global audience. Abir runs Civic Games Lab, where he makes things like board games and graphic novels. But here's the catch. Without a local support system, he's had to lean on international nonprofit funds to get his projects going. His big dream now is to get the rights to revive classic Indian comics like Chacha Chaudhary and introduce those amazing characters to the whole world. And then you've got the world builders. Zain Memon and his partner, the filmmaker Anand Gandhi, they're not just trying to make a game or write a book. Their ambition is to build what they call a cultural monument, a story so big, so significant, it can stand on the world stage and represent a new voice from the global south. That term for developing nations in places like Asia, Africa, and Latin America. And this slide just perfectly shows their method. They're creating Maya, a massive transmedia franchise. That just means the story gets told across a bunch of different platforms, like books, games, and films. So after years of building this incredibly deep universe of lore, they went straight to a global audience on Kickstarter. They asked for just $10,000 and ended up raising over $420,000. It just proves people are hungry for new stories.
Okay, these stories are seriously inspiring, right? But they also shine a huge spotlight on the immense challenges these creators are up against. So what exactly is holding back a flood of original Indian IP? Let's break down the main obstacles.
First, let's just do a quick reset on what's at the heart of all this. Intellectual property, or IP. Basically, it's the core creative idea, the story, the characters, the world you've built. Owning your IP is everything. It means you control its destiny, from video games to movies to t-shirts. It is the engine that powers a global franchise.
So the first huge hurdle is the domestic market. I mean, this chart really says it all. The market for those premium PC and console games in India,
it's tiny compared to the absolutely massive global market. This imbalance forces creators like Megagupta to aim for an international audience right from the very beginning.
And let's put some numbers on that because these stats are just staggering. Think about this. There are fewer PlayStation 5 consoles in the entire country of India than there are panchayats or village councils. That really puts the scale of this challenge into perspective, right? The high-end hardware just isn't there in huge numbers, making it incredibly tough to build a business around it at home.
But despite all these hurdles, things are really starting to change. A brand new ecosystem is being built, and it's happening from two directions at once. You've got the grassroots innovation from creators on one side and new support from the government on the other.
So what's really crucial here is this multi-pronged approach that's taking shape. You have creators finding these really clever ways to get funding through global platforms and partnerships because, well, they can't wait. And at the exact same time, you've got the government stepping in with some major initiatives. It's this combination of bottom-up energy and top-down support that could finally tip the scales.
The goal of this new national center is really interesting. For years, the main focus has always been on India as a service provider. This new center represents a pretty significant shift in policy. The goal is to transform India from a work-for-hire hub into a source of original stories, pulling from the country's incredibly rich cultural heritage. And that, of course, connects right back to Abir Kapoor's vision.
So what does this all add up to? Well, it's about a lot more than just an economic shift. What we're seeing is a fundamental change in India's role in global culture. It's a move from being a passive receiver of stories to becoming an active, powerful creator of them.
Filmmaker Anand Gandhi puts it just perfectly. For centuries, culture has pretty much flowed in one direction. And what he's arguing is that it's finally time for that monologue to become a real dialogue, one where new voices and new mythologies from places like India can enrich the entire global conversation.
This whole movement is building towards a pretty thrilling future. When you combine this kind of independent passion, this global ambition, and this new growing support system, the question really isn't if India will produce a global blockbuster franchise, but when, and what amazing story it will tell.